Okay, so we'll continue from Torah Aleph, Va'alkein, Dibra Mask, Va'alkein Yaakov. So we're in the middle of explaining Nachas, Yivachom V'Nachas Nishmoim. So he says, Va'alkein Yaakov, he explains, Va'alkein Yaakov, Yaakov Shibechinas HaSeichel Canal. Yaakov, of course, he had that seichel that we spoke above. He had that seichel, that insights, and whatever he looked, he saw. He explained. There's Esav, there's Yaakov. There's a difference between Esav and Yaakov.
Esav didn't want the seichel.
Right.
He didn't care.
Right. Yaakov. That what he explained above. That Yaakov was zeichet to b'choire because he had the b'choire's chachma. Because Yaakov was the person who cared, versus Esav said, Yivas Esav Esav Choyre. He didn't care about Chachma, didn't care about living with the insights of things. He was just interested in the physical things. Like he explained, Yivas Esav Esav Choyre, explaining what Mishli, what Shlomo Melech says, Yachpoitz Ksil Betvina Kim Bizgalus Liboy. That a person doesn't care about Seichel, about insights. He just living, like the phrase they say, you only live on this world once, let's enjoy it. Basically, the wrong perception, the wrong understanding of things. So it explains Yaakov that he had the seichel canal. Alkein zochel lechein. That's why he was zeichet lechein. K'mashikosav the pasuk says in Bereshis Lam Gimel K'chanani Elekim. He said, told Esav K'chanani Elekim. Yesh li kol. I have everything. Chanani is chen. So he was zeichet lechein. Va'alkein. Therefore, birech es hashvotim also bechein. He blessed the Shvatim also with the same bracha they should have. At that point, Binyamin wasn't born then. So Yosef, later on, when the Shvatim they were in Mitzrayim, by Yosef, so Yosef told him, he blessed him with Chen, because he got the bracha of Chen, so he also gave him the bracha of Chen, had the ability of Chen. So said the Dafke Yosef Hoyochel Levorche Bechen. Only Yosef had the ability to bless him with Chen. Yosef Hoyekalu BeYosef B'Bchines Yaakov. Yosef had the most of the Bechina of Yaakov. Of Ele told us Yaakov Yosef. The Pasuk says the toldus of Yaakov was Yosef. He Hoyo Ike Toldosav. He was the main of the toldus of Yaakov was Yosef. Why? Ki Yaakov v'Yosef kechode chashivu. Yaakov and Yosef were considered like one. There's the child who resembles the father, but not only resembles the father with his image that he looks like him, but he's basically, you call him a carbon copy, but he's also a carbon copy with his whole behavior and everything. So Yosef was the one who resembled the most from all the Shvatim his father. And they were like one. Yosef, Bechar Shoyrei Hodaloi. So Yosef, the Pasuk calls him Bechoir. He was a Bechoir to whom? It wasn't the Bechoir of Yaakov. He was the Bechoir of whom? Of Rachel. Yes, Yaakov had 4 wives. So he was the Bechoir of Rachel. But the Mile of Bechar is also the Mile that he has, we learned above, and that a Bechoir is someone Chachma. Right? Yeah, Bechar is the first one, which that's Chachma, the first middah. So Yosef was also having the same concept of Chachma. Bechar Shoyre Hodaloi. He had this Hodar of Bechoir. He bechinas HaSeichel Canal. And what's the Lashon? V'zeyu Shoyroi. Shoyroi, B'char Shoyroi. Shoyroi is Lashon Istaklus. In different languages, Shur is sometimes being referred in Pasuk and Nach as looking at something. Ashirenu v'loikar of the Pasuk says.
What is this Pasuk? B'chor Shara Hadar. What does it mean?
By the brachas of when the brachas of Moshe spoke about Yosef, he said B'char Shoyroi Hadar.
Okay.
So Rashi explains a different explanation. So he explains that Yosef had the mile, he was a Bechar, yes, to Rachel, but he had the mile of Bechar that we refer above of Seichel, of being the Chachma. Shoyroi is a lotion of Istaklus, looking at. The Pasuk says, Ashirenu v'loyato, Bilam said, Ashirenu, calls looking deep, Shoyroi. So that's why he said that he also had the Indian of You have to look in the seichel that is in everything, the way I mentioned above. Inkeles, it is translated as ziv lei. Hodaloi is ziv. Sometimes hoder will be nice. Ziv is lashon oyer, a lashon of light. Ka seichel ma'eloi b'chol dover. He had the seichel, the wisdom that was shining him in every way, in everything. Even these dark places, ma'eloi ha-seichel, the seichel is lighting him. K'shezeichel is takel ala seichel sheyesham b'chol dover imekadav ois l'Hashem yisbarach. So he explains over here that even in dark places, when you have the merit, the schir, to look at things the way they really are, when you look at things the way they really are, what happens is you elevate the thing. You take out the or that's in it, and this gives you the ability to become even closer to Hashem. It's like Nisoyan, for example. He doesn't speak over here about Nisoyan, but Nisoyan is a lashon. Yes, a person has a challenge. Nisoyan is a lashon of neis. Yeah, lifts a person. There's many things, but over here it speaks a little different concept. But except the concept is then in everything there's a light. There's nitzoytzes, there's kedusha. How does a person live out of? How does a person thrive out of and has the ability to pull out the kedusha from a thing? How does it pull it out? It's through understanding the real concept, what it is it's coming for. By this, he has the ability to take out the nitzotzes from the thing and become closer to Hashem. It's a very deep concept, which is one of the deepest concepts of Kabbalah, which Chassidus Kabbalah, which explains the whole time. The Baal Shem Tov says, why are people hungry? Re'evin gam tzameim. Why are people hungry? Why did Hashem create the man, that the man should have the need to reach out to food? The person, so there is doimim tzameach chei medaber. There's 4 levels. So the lowest is doimim, then there's tzameach, yes? The things that are growing. So we human beings, we're living on either on animals, which is also chai, a lower level from us. We eat their flesh, or we live on the plants, and then there's the water, right, which is more maybe like them. Why is it so? So the Baal Shem Tov explains, nafsha behem tis'ataf. There is nitzotzes, there's sparks, godly sparks and everything. And a person, when he eats something, and through the power of eating that thing, he has the ability to serve Hashem. So then you elevate the godly spark that is in it, and that's what actually gives you the chayas. That's what actually gives you the life. And that's why Hashem made, people should have the need to reach out to food. So when something pulls them to the food, what is actually pulling them? There's the godly spark, which the soul of the person needs it in order to be able to live, to nourish. You have to nourish the soul. It's through eating it and serving Hashem with it. But there's sometimes where you could take it, you could pull it down to clip it by doing the opposite. So it depends how you do it. The Moharan brings Nochum Chernobyl. He was a few times out of Hashem Tov. Later was a Talmud of the Maggid. He writes even a bigger chiddush. It says from the name of the Baal Shem Tov that even a goy, which is a non-Jew, when he eats pork, he eats all the sholosh clips of mice. Usually we know that the sholosh clips at mice. Yeah, there's the 3 clippers that you can't elevate it. But there's a few ways how you could. One way that Shlomo says, one of Tziddish Rebbe's, the Domsker, says through bittul, when a little piece falls into a big pot, then bottle b'shishim. So that's the one way how you elevate it. But you're not allowed to do it purposely, just by incidentally if it falls in. The other way, the Moharan says that when a goy eats, which is a tremendous chiddush, a goy eats his pork, his sholosh klips atmayas, and through that he could do a favor for a Jew. So you're also being elevating sparks, but in a different, not on the same level than when a Jew eats. So he has also a similar a little elevation. But so when you think about it, it's mind-boggling, because what happens? So in order this person, let's give an example. Let's say a Mexican guy is working here for the shul. He helps out, whatever, helps out, cleans the library. So he eats his pork and all his garbage. But remember, in order he should be born, his mother and father needed to eat, and his grandparents and everyone. So let's say there was never any Jew in this whole town that he came from, but still all the generations, everything, all the time of planting, raising, and everything, all the clothes they wear, everything they wear that was needed in order to have the person here to help now the Jew, has the sparks, have some kind of elevation. So you don't know exactly, you see it, right? You look when you look at the merchandise, the way the merchandise works, like right now, China, everything is made in China. You have over 1 billion people there, right, in China. So they're basically working here, and we Jews, we make business in China, we import, so we pay schalimit. We live from the economy, all our material. You know,
I have a kosher restaurant now in Shanghai. Chinese food, yeah.
Chinese food. So you have everything.
What about do they raise nitotas like if in order to keep one of Sheva mitzvahs bnei Noach amongst each other, or did the Chernobyl only say only when it comes to help a Jew?
The Chernobyl only said about helping a Jew.
Okay.
But you're raising a great point because it is a good question because
it's hard to believe that the only way that they can be doing kedusha is only to help Jews.
Right, because that's clear. When a goy keeps Sheva mitzvah noach, he's also zeich l'chayil l'mabah.
Right. Well, it used to be the custom in America, but more so than it is now, to say a prayer before eating, a big meal. Now, I know in terms of Yidden, I wanted to ask you that I think the light is only released if the bracha is made.
Right.
Right, because if a Jew eats, if a Jew eats kosher food, is he tapping into those sparks as well, or it's only done through the bracha or through both?
So normally the problem here is that there is, and you look at a diagram, there's all kind of channels, the way the channel works. So the normal channel, the straight channel, works through eating it. You make a bracha, you have kavanah. Let's eat in order to have koyach, to daven, to learn, to serve, to work, in order to earn money, to be able to buy clothes, to live. That's the biggest elevation. But then there's different ways how things work. So let's say even a person. Let's give an example. Let's say a person, Chaz v'Shalom, ate pork. Let's go to the extreme case. A Jew ate pork. And afterwards, he ate pork, it gave him some kind of koyach, obviously. Afterwards, he chaps himself, oh no, what do I do? I'm eating this pork. And it does real tshuva. And this tshuva gets him a level closer to Hashem than he was before. Let's say before, he was davening, let's say just putting on tefillin. Now realizes how far he went. He said, listen, I have to get back to my roots. I'll go to daven every day in shul. So basically, this eating pork got him closer to Hashem. And no one should go eat pork.
Right.
But I was just saying.
Well, it's kind of like if someone falls in a hole.
You fall in a hole. So you come closer. So what happened? So actually, this pork actually had elevation. Yes, was elevated now. Why? Because it got you closer to Hashem. So that's when we. So there's different ways. And let's give another example. Let's give an example in Russia. Yes, you had in Russia, unfortunately, there was Yevasetsky. There were the Jews who were fighting against religion there. Yes, it was the communist, the KGB. Yeah, it was not the KGB, was the Jewish division.
The Jewish division that were going after the Jews.
Going after the Jews.
It was Jews who would who were the main persecutors of the Lubavitchers back in Russia.
So Yevasetsky, for an example. So there was that Jew running after the other Jew, and he was doing all affairs. Now that Jew, because he was being chased after, he reached out to Hashem. He davened with much more kavanah. So what happened over there? So the snagdus of that person got this person closer. So it's also some kind of elevation. So So we didn't know all the cheshbonis of Hashem, how He does these things in order to get everything out.
Well, that's really the whole idea, but behind not knowing the difference between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordecai is that they were both, in their own way, a shliach of Shem, and without Mordecai there would be no Purim.
Right.
So it's the same thing that you're speaking
Without
about.
Haman, there's also
Right,
no Purim.
right.
I meant without Haman there's no Purim.
Right,
you know.
right. That's why the Kedushas Levi.
Nothing happens without Hashem's assent. Although obviously you still have the Bechira, we assume to
right. So
to
he gets
annihilate
punished.
the Yidden, yeah.
He gets punished whatever he did. The
Right.
Levitzak of Badishev says, Yetze Yitzchak Sameach v'toiv leif. He was happy. Sameach. So he asked. So there's a difference between someone who's pleased and someone who's happy. So the real happiness, which comes from an inner. The real happiness is not about someone can go to a bar and have a good drink, a good shot, and he's happy, but he's not really happy. Let's call it pleased. You're not happy. Happiness, real happiness, is more something when your soul is happy. You reach a certain level of kedusha. That's what the real happiness is. So Leitzak B'dishav asks, why was Haman zeicher to simcha? Haman, that great Gerosha, why was he zeicher to simcha? So Leitzak B'dishav answers that concept. He said, because through his things, he got Jews closer to Hashem, so he got simcha. That's what the Leitzak B'dishav said. So it's very interesting the way how things go.
That was in Shemayim, though. Yeah, it was how to look backwards. I don't think it was. He didn't realize at the time. But it says in the Megillah that he had a Lev Tov. There were only two people in all of Tanakh who were described. I forgot who the other one was, but there are different explanations why he has the Lev Tov.
So it's Tov Lev, not
Tov Lev. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but Haman also we gotta understand. When you look in Kabbalah, when you look in Chassidus, Haman is not. The Gemara says Haman min HaTorah minayin. It says Hamina Eitz. He had a root in the Torah. We're not talking about this whole cheshbon. Why, for whatever's sake, did he go and bother to take an Eitz Gevoya Chamishim Amah? She's basically pulling a log. I don't know. Let's give it. Chazon Shir would be 100 feet long, and when you go to the lower level, it was 75 feet long. Why was he bothering? How tall was Mordechai that he needed such a tall log? So basically, there's a whole cheshbonis in Kabbalah, why 50, everything, there's numbers. We learn about Sharach HaMishim, Nun, Malchus. He was trying to climb higher in order to a point where there's why was he using a goydel? For what reason did he throw a goydel? He was looking, so there's a whole cheshbonis. Haman wasn't a simple person. He wasn't just just someone out of the street. He knew everything about Kedusha, and he was from Klippa, and he knew
Black
exactly.
magic.
Yeah, he knew how to fight it, this black magic, how to fight Kedusha. And that's why he almost succeeded. Was already almost next to no.
He knew his enemy.
He knew his enemy, he almost succeeded. The only way Mordechai and Esther, the two greatest Jews, were able to fight him. Otherwise, he succeeded. Okay, so let's continue over here. So he says, so he finishes with the concept saying that Seichel is lighting in everything. So when a person is even in a dark place, he has the ability, when he looks, he trains himself. When a person trains, we cannot expect anyone, when he falls into a problem, he has a bad court case, he has someone who, whatever, he has major problems, should all of a sudden be able to look at it in a positive light and see God in it. But if you train yourself enough outside of the problem to look at everything at the insides of the thing, so when you fall into the dark places, you also have the ability to see it with a real light, the way it really is. So you need the outside training in order to be able, when you come inside in the problem, to see it. So that's what he says. And at that point, so when a person falls into a problem, he looks at the dark place not as a dark place. He looks at there is over there Hashem. So at that point, he has the ability to become even closer to Hashem. V'zeh Perish, now he's going to explain, as we say in the Akdama, before he starts, he's going to explain the memory of Rabbi Babuchana. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Babuchana says above Basra and Gimel, Haigala de Matbaya Lisfinisa Mischaze. So he says that this Matbaya is a coin, Lisfinusa Mischaze Kititsuse, the Neure Chavarte Bereshe. It looks like there's a white fire on top of it. So Perish Rashbam.
Gala de Matba the Sfinta? Isn't that a wave that? Isn't he talking about a wave that drowns a ship?
Right. You're right. Yeah, I made a mistake. Yeah. Gala de Mat, the wave that drowns the ship. So you see it as a white fire. So the Rashbam explains, Eish levane im malach maziki. So you see it as a white fire, and there's a malach that's mazik.
It is this white fire is a malach, is a harmful malach. Whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yes. It's an evil malach, mazik. Imachinalai ba'alvase the chokik alei eka she'eke. How could you fight it? You hit it with a special stick that has in it the name of Hashem, eka she'eke. Gale. By the way, it's very interesting. Let's just stop just for an interesting point. I don't know if you ever read about the Dead Sea Scrolls. But if you read, so they were a sect of Jews who created their own religion.
Right.
So we have to say lahavdil when we speak about that. but you see the concept that was then. They're going to fight the whole fight and everything.
There's going to be
all
this
kind
huge
of
war between black and white and whatever.
And they're right. You will in this wars will be certain alphabetics. It sounds like that if we lahavdil that all the wars there were in that time were involved using Shemus Hakadoshim. So they were. That's what it sounds. That's what gives us the image how things were at that time. So he says over here that you have to hit this malach with the Shem Eka Shereke. Yet Moshe Rabbeinu on a stick had also the Shem Yud Kei Vovke. Gale Hua Yetzirah. So he explains. Gale means the Yetzirah, the wave of the Yetzirah. The matbel is fenose hua chen v'chashivas. It's going. Why? He explained why this chen. Because loshen soften it's hidden. It's fenose loshen hidden. The choshev, and that's choshev.
Safun means hidden?
Yes, safun is hidden.
Right.
And he brings over here, if you look down in the remarks over here, but kot chavches man choshev man safun. So you see choshev and safun, you use it together. Who's choshev? The one who's hidden. Ki Yetzirah roitze latbia lahashpil chad v'sholem b'chinas achein v'chashiva shel Yisrael. So the Yetzirah is the wave that wants to mashpil, to lower the chen and the chashivas of Klal Yisrael, which this is bechinas malchus de kedusha. In mischaze kitzitzuse de nire chavarte bereishe. So kimatchila Yetzirah mislabish atzbe b'mitzvahs. In the beginning, Yetzirah is mislabish b'mitzvahs. And matas adam k'ilam asisoy lasus mitzvah. He's tricking the person. He cheats the person, telling the person to do this, that the greatest mitzvahs, like he were used. I don't know, the ones to learn about Lashon Hara. Oh, this and that person, it's a mitzvah to talk on him. It's a mitzvah.
It's also the same thing with like Baal Tshuva, right? Somebody who becomes a Baal Tshuva, he starts to take too much upon himself, and then he burns out. The whole time he thinks he's doing a great thing, and then at the end of the day, it's just a very smart and very tricky Yetzer Hara, which is pushing him to take more upon himself.
So he says, so he's cheating the person first. It's a mitzvah. There's a famous word in Chassidim they said that sometimes the Yetzer Hara hides himself dressed with a weiße Jubitze. The Rebbes. Rebbe, they go with this white bekeche. They have this white coat. So sometimes, but you still see him with this white coat. So how do you know he's not a Rebbe? He has who gave him the white coat? So the answer is he stole this coat. Meaning to say it's a concept. What I mean, it's a concept. Meaning to say you have to be able to outsmart the Yetzer Hara because he's very smart. And
it's interesting actually because this is also it's psychology. Just plain old psychology talks about this all the time as well, right? That basically a lot of the thoughts that you have are, you get into this funk. Just you'll have any thoughts, right? You could, and usually they're negative. I'm this, I'm that, whatever. I did this, and you get really all up into them, but you realize at the end of the day, it's just a figment of your imagination. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But because the source of these thoughts are from yourself and from within your head, and where are you if not in your head? Because that's how you perceive everything, right?
Right.
It's just it's a very smart Yetzer Hara. It's a Yetzer Hara that you can really.
So one of the eitzes is usually Asay L'charav. That's what the Mishnah says. That's why I should have a different person. That when you have all kind of these kind of thoughts, talk it over with them, with that person. Why? Because that person doesn't have your limitations. So he can see things in a different light. You are, as you said, you are in your own thoughts, and who exactly is telling you not yes or wrong, even when you are in doubt. So it's you that is in doubt. So how exactly do you decide what you are going to do? You are in doubt. So there's always a person. The easiest would have been if we would have been able to right away identify our enemy. This thoughts, that's the Yetzer Hara. Then we wouldn't have any challenge. Problem is we are constantly in challenge. Sometimes we are able to identify, but still we have this thought that tells us, listen, it's only this time, it's only once, it's only this, it's only that, it's only happen to be. It reminds me of a very interesting story, which when there's a concept of emes. We'll learn of it later on. Emes is Aleph Mem Sof, which is the beginning of the letters, the last letter, and the middle of the letter. A chasoma shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu is emes. The stamp of Hashem is emes. Meaning to say, what is that? That every person, Tanya explains, every person has his level, where that level, if he's in this level, that's his level. So if he serves Hashem with his level, and he serves Hashem with his emes, so he's able to reach Hashem. So we are all, everyone, we have a different level in our emes. Everyone has his point, where he serves Hashem with this, that's his truth. That's his understanding of doing things. That's his understanding of that. And when he does everything with his real understanding, then he's able to reach Hashem. As he gave one example, the example of Baal Tshuva. Let's say if this Baal Tshuva is not mentally, if he's not capable of doing everything, because if yes, he will get burned out. So his emes is to go a lower level. But a person who's really capable to do more, he's capable to take more upon himself. But he's like hesitant, scared. So then, and he doesn't do what he has to do, so he's not at his level of truth. Because he's in a lower level, so he's still in the sheker. How do you know? That's why you need also Asay L'charav.
Yeah, actually, I heard from Rabbi Aryeh Niven, who said it's in Kabbalistic sources that ideally someone should have a triad of objectivity, have a Rav on top of him and a Chaver alongside, and then a Talmud below, and that's the best way to keep someone honest, to get the emes of life.
Right.
That makes sense.
Aleph is the Rav, Taf is the Talmud.
That's funny. Actually, I heard the same ki'ilu, the same kind of thing in like one of those business inspirational videos, where he basically said that what you should always do is you should hang out with somebody who's way more successful than you, so you can learn from him. You should hang out with people who are on your same level, so you can go and trade ideas. And you should have your charity case, somebody that you go and you help out. Right. Yeah, exactly.
He said the Talmudim are the best. Actually, oftentimes people find that the Talmudim are the source that keeps them the most on their toes. Because of so many questions. Whereas the Rav is not going to ask questions of that kind. The Rav could ask different kinds. So it's different kinds of questions, really, and different kinds of answers.
So there was a story of a professor who was in the middle of the process of getting closer in Yiddishkeit, moving upon. So it was at that point, he was already keeping kosher, but he was still having all these kind of questions, all these philosophical questions. And it wasn't like 100%, but he was already keeping kosher. That was his level already. So it was a hot day, a very hot day. He was sweating, really sweating. And he was thirsty, like his tongue was sticking to his up. And he was walking outside, and then he passes this restaurant, a non-kosher restaurant. They have this exhaust fan that gives you the smell in your face. And he's thirsty, and there the smell comes into his face. And he was used to the smell, right? He was eating all this before that. And really started like pulling him in. You know what? Give it. You're thirsty. This big God cares about this little creature there who's thirsty and tired and hungry. Will eat, just go in, buy something non-kosher, eat it, finish, drink something non-kosher, don't care. So he was having this dialogue, this debate in himself the whole time. And with his philosophy, he was a philosopher, and he was thinking back, this big God, this little person, what does he care? So he was having this battle the whole time, but he decided, no, I'm not. I'm already keeping kosher, I'm not going to break it. But for him, it was a wow. Like for those who are used to, for me, I was, FFB they call it, right? So for me, non-kosher doesn't
not
talk
a test,
to me.
yeah.
Not even a test. But someone who was used to non-kosher, it is a test. So for him it was a wow, and it was having like he was a correspondence with Lubavitcher Rebbe. So he wrote him a letter, and he wrote him this story. The story that he had this dialogue, and he decided Lubavitcher Rebbe wrote him back. This was your first connection to Judaism. Was the first time that it really reached this emes. If you have a kosher store next to you and you choose kosher upon non-kosher, it's not such a big deal. When you really have a test and you decide not to, that's when you, because that was his emes, his truth. Then he reached God. Anyway, so he says, so we got a little distracted there. So let's go back over here. So Rav Nachman says, so he explains the member of Rabbi Baba Chana. So the Yetzer Hara comes and tells the person, like this professor, who cares? You're thirsty. It's like you say, even some mitzvah, you have to watch upon your body. It's thirsty. After you can become dehydrated. After became malach maziki, but even though then it's still a malach amazik. The main way how to be machnia the Yetzer Hara al Torah through the Torah. The Torah is full with names of Hashem and Kadosh Baruch Hu. Not only the names that are written out, but there's a lot of shemus. I don't know if you ever read. There's a very, let's call it. It's a very Yosef de Larayne was one of the greatest at that time, before the Bes Yosef, still before the Arizal, who wanted to bring Mashiach. And there's the whole story. He took him and four of his greatest Talmidim, were one of the biggest in Kabbalah. Purified himself. He went to Shem in Tzvas.
Okay.
And he went to the Shem came to him a dream. Don't do it. He won't succeed. He brought down Leonovi. Also told him don't do it, but he decided he's going. It's a whole story, a whole long story. And
who's the name? What was his name again?
Yosef.
Right.
The Mun de Lorraine. It comes from de Lorraine. I don't know which city that is, somewhere.
Okay.
Well, the end of the story didn't end up good. He was already having all concepts of Kabbalah.
Well, they tried to go into Pardes?
No, he
was
wanted
doing
to
like Yechudim or something like that.
Yechudim, and he tried to force Mashiach so he was capable to, I don't know, it's Ruchnis concepts. He was already having the Malach HaMovis, the Yetzer Hara. He was able already to tie him. He was walking, and then he gave him to smell something, and it wasn't supposed to. And then where the Yetzer Hara and two of Talmidim died right away, and two became one became crazy, I think, and one was sick, very sick for the rest of his life. And that Talmud that was sick wrote the whole story. So he writes all the malachim that he was mashbiah, brought down all the malachim, and they told him all kind of shemus to be yichudim, to be mechavim from all psukim. So you read psukim, you don't know what you're reading. It sounds like a simple posting, and here is a Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. Well, every posting is full with shemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But Torah bechinas Vav. Now Torah is the bechina of Vav. So he explains why is it Vav. Haluchas Arkan Vav v'Rachman Vav. The luchas were long of Vav and had the width of a Vav.
It was 6 by 6.
6 by 6. But there's also Vav. Vav is a concept. Vav is a concept that Vav brings down. Vav is Amshocha. Vav bringing down. Torah is from Hashem. It's from above. but it brings down the Ashpah the Shefa downstairs.
Vav is
It's like a yud. It's a yud with a stick
midas,
next to it.
right?
With a stick, yeah.
Yeah, which points down.
Zer Anpin, right?
Right.
Right. Okay.
No, Vav is the midas, right? 6 midas. Haluchas arka Vav, Varach Vav, Zeh bechinas alvas dehena maklis. These are the sticks. The chokik alei eke hena shemis bechinas atayre. So the way how to fight the Yitzhahara is through Torah, shebechinas Vav. V'havov, it's Yiras Makl, the shape of Havov is like a stick, right? Vav, a straight line. It's like a stick. V'kula Shem Moisef Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shem is all the names of Hashem is Baruch Hu, Torah Akdeshe, Hu Machnia es Yitzhahara. The Torah has the ability to be Machnia the Yitzhahara, Sheroitzu Lasses Odom Meshuga Mamish Chaz V'Shalom. So he says the Yitzhahara wants to make a person crazy. Why crazy? So he says, Ki Balavera Meshuga, Balavera, someone who creates sins, a sinner is a crazy guy. Why is it crazy? They are very smart. A person is not over Aveda till the person is nechnas b'riach shtus. So the Tanya, he doesn't explain it over here. Later on, he will explain it. The Tanya explains that a person really, every person, each and every one of us, if someone comes to us and points us a gun, it says either you bow to this cross, or you are being shot to death. So the choice of everyone, my choice, I believe all of you will have the same thing. The choice of just kill me. I don't care. I'm not going to do it. Right? Why? Because it's Mesiras Nefesh. It is something a person is not ready to betray Hashem for his life. Hashem is more important for him than his life, right?
I think nowadays more likely that someone's going to tell you to bow down to ISIS than to a cross. So.
Okay, but you also had this Daniel Pearl. It was this, he was this. So you also said
Daniel
proud.
Pearl, right?
Yeah, I'm a Jew. He was proud. But when it comes to every Aveda, so the Tanya explains, really, when you really think into it, you're basically betraying Hashem. If you have a choice, Hashem or the Yitzhahara, and you're choosing Yitzhahara over Hashem, so you're also betraying Hashem. But there's the Ruach Shtus, there's the crazy idea of every person that feels, this is not so bad. Bound to a cross or to idol worship, that's terrible. But this is not terrible. But really, it's a Shtus. Because when you really know the insights, you understand it's the same concept. What's the difference between a cross? Everything is clip, everything is not serving Hashem. But that's the Riech that we all have. So he says, Kamoyam Shigom, the same like crazy people, Tzerichim la'akoisam, you need to hit them, Venosam aleim shemus, and you have to put on them shemus. Kamoykim mamish, atoyre she'oiskim. Now he goes into a concept, I'm a little scared to elaborate on that concept, but there's a certain belief, some of the mental problems, some of the psychosis, I'm not saying, could sometimes have to do with klippas.
Okay.
It's questionable, but there are stories that we know about great tzaddikim that were able to heal these people through Torah, through different ways, using shemus, using names of Hashem. So basically, now the question is why does medicine work? I happen to be, I'm just coming, the reason I came late, I had to go with someone to a doctor. So why does medicine work? So there's two ways how you fight klippa. I'm giving my explanation, but I think it's right. There's two ways how to fight him. It's either you are strong. When you are strong, like the Krishna Levi says many times, if a person is not scared, klippa has much a lesser ability and power to danger that person. That's a physical thing. If you are strong and your ruach is strong, because every person is an image of God. He has a soul which is also kedusha, and he has ability to fight klippa. So if a person gets scared, let's say when a Russia comes, if a person is not scared, he's able to fight klippa just by being strong. But if a person is scared, so he gives himself under the power of klippa, at that point they can't harm him. Even with the shadim and all these kind of, if a person is amit tzriach, he has greater chances of fighting than a person when he's like scared and is
And
so
physically weak.
So when you give the person medicine, so you're basically strengthening this body. When his body is strong, they have a lesser impact on a person. So that's sometimes the answer. I'm not saying that all the mental cases are that. Maybe a fraction only has to do with klippah, but there's sometimes it does have to do with klippah. There is such a concept. So that's what he says when a person should go to hit them sometimes. Stop being crazy, stop making yourself crazy, and sometimes also the shamus. So he says, so that's a metaphor. It's an example. When you're oisik a Torah, he beginnes maklus v'shemus. These are the begin of the sticks and the shemus. She was a makin and machnias etzahara magashim in Adam, and has the ability to throw away as a shegon richtus and echnus boy. The richtus beginnes in beginnele bealbese the chokik alei. That's the beginne of the stick. The chokik shemus knis kalel. Vezeu. That's the beginne finishes Ashrei Temimei Darech. The Melech says the Tilim Ashrei blessed are Temimei Darech. Who is Ashrei? Ashrei Loshen is taklus. He already explained the shur, yes? Ashrei is the Loshen of his taklus, of looking inside. Temimei Darech, the beginnes Yaakov, which is Ishtam. Yaakov is called a Tomim, right? It was whole. Tomim. She beginnes a Seichel Canal. So those are the people who have this ability, this Seichel. Haina Lisko is Listakel al Seichel Sheyesh B'chol Dover. To have the schia to be mistakel, to look at everything, the Seichel and everything. She beginnes Yaakov Ishtam. Ze Zeichen al Daya Torah. This year Zeichen only through the Torah. V'zeyu, that's what the pasuk finishes. Aholchim b'Torah Hashem. Those that go with the Torah Hashem. Kadesh learn the Torah b'koyach. To learning Torah b'koyach hadazen noisen koyach. He gives the koyach la malchus the kedusha. He gives the koyach for malchus. He explained above. There is kedusha. There is klippah. So there's malchus of kedusha, and there's the malchus of klippah. Yes, and Haman tried to reach. He tried to reach the malchus of klippah. 50. So beginnes nun lekabel min aseichel she beginnes ches, to be mekabel from seichel which is beginnes for ches. But as nasa chen, then it turns into chen. When it's kabel in the var of kanal, then his words are being miskabel. But as in his Allah chen v'chashiva shel Yisrael, then the chen and the grace and the chashivas of Klal Yisrael kol atulas of koshes miskablim. We are zeichel that Hashem. We should also have chen towards Hashem. That when we ask from Hashem, Hashem says, "Yes, I'll do whatever you're asking." So that's a koyach of Torah. That's why when we learn Torah, we have that ability. So Torah is not only a book of laws. It's not only about you have to learn it because you were told so, or you have to learn it because you should know whatever you should do. But it's a deeper concept that through learning Torah, you have the ability to all the things. You're zeicher to chen, you're zeicher to fight the klippos, you're zeicher to everything.